Every airline has rules, but former employees will tell you the real game happens behind the scenes. Things you never read in the brochure, never hear in the safety announcement, and definitely never get explained when you buy your ticket. Flying feels like a simple exchange. You pay for a seat, you get from point A to point B. But ex-airline workers know that behind every smooth boarding announcement and every plastic smile at the counter, there's a world of hidden systems, little tricks, and quiet shortcuts that passengers aren't supposed to notice. Today we're diving into 9 shocking secrets straight from ex-airline workers. Secrets that were never meant for the average traveler. Some of these will frustrate you, others will make you laugh, but all of them will make you rethink how airlines really operate. These aren't rumors or conspiracy theories, they're the inside stories that explain why airlines do what they do and how those choices impact your trip, your wallet, and sometimes even your safety. But before we start, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now and tell me what country you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I love seeing where people are tuning in from. Whether it's morning coffee in New York, a late-night scroll in Sydney, or an afternoon break in London. Let's make this a global roll call of smart travelers. All right, let's get into it. Secret 1. The real reason flights are overbooked. You'd think buying a plane ticket guarantees you a seat, but according to gate agents who have worked for major carriers, that's not always the case. Airlines routinely oversell flights. They know a percentage of passengers won't show up, so they sell more tickets than there are seats on the plane. On paper, it makes sense. Fill every seat, maximize profit. But in practice, it can be devastating for passengers. Imagine being a newlywed couple on your honeymoon, showing up at the airport in your best outfits, only to be told there are no seats left because the airline sold too many tickets. This isn't rare. The U.S. Department of Transportation reported that over 100,000 passengers were denied boarding in a single year because of overbooking. And that number only counts the people who were officially denied boarding. It doesn't include the thousands more who volunteered to take a later flight because they were offered vouchers or cash incentives. Ex-airline workers admit that agents are trained to target passengers without loyalty status or those who booked the cheapest tickets first. One gate agent confessed she hated looking into people's eyes as she told them they were being bumped, but she said the system left her no choice. It's cold math. The least profitable passengers are sacrificed first. Loyalty program elites and business travelers almost never get bumped. Families traveling on budget tickets, they're at the top of the list. And while airlines often offer vouchers to volunteers, the compensation can vary wildly. Some people walk away with a few $100s. Others, if they hold out long enough, have scored vouchers worth thousands. One traveler famously waited at a Delta counter until the bidding war reached $2,000 plus a hotel night before giving up their seat. Gate agents will always start with the lowest offer possible because the airline wants to save money, but if you're patient, the offers almost always go up. There's also a hidden trick here. If you're flexible and know your rights, being bumped can actually work in your favor. Federal law requires airlines to compensate passengers involuntarily denied boarding, sometimes up to 4 times the cost of the ticket. But agents rarely advertise this fact. They rely on passengers not knowing the rules. Ex-workers admit they were told to avoid mentioning these details unless passengers specifically brought them up. The lesson here is simple. The airline is playing a money game, and you don't have to lose. If you're flexible, you can actually win by holding out for bigger compensation. If you're not, knowing your rights ahead of time can keep you from being blindsided. The seat you think you've paid for isn't always guaranteed, but your power lies in how you respond when the system tries to push you aside. Secret 2. Why airline food tastes so strange. Ever wondered why that in-flight meal tastes so strange? Ex-flight attendants say it's not just the food, it's you. At cruising altitude, your taste buds don't work the same. Studies by Lufthansa found that salt and sugar perception drops by as much as 30%. So the catering companies load meals with extra salt, sugar, and fat to make up for it. That explains why tomato juice suddenly tastes amazing at 30,000 feet. But here's the part they don't tell you. Not all airlines treat their food the same. Some budget carriers use frozen meals that are reheated on board, while airlines like Singapore or Emirates invest millions in specialized kitchens and tasting panels. The difference between a reheated pasta tray and a carefully designed curry dish isn't just luxury. It's a strategy to keep premium customers happy. Ex-workers reveal that crew often eat from separate meal trays labeled crew meals, and many admitted those meals were better than what passengers got. There's another dirty little secret. The water used for coffee and tea often comes from tanks that aren't cleaned as frequently as passengers assume. Some flight attendants admitted they never drink the coffee on board because they don't trust the water tanks. One even joked, "If you knew what was in those pipes, you'd bring your own thermos." Government inspections have found microbial contamination in some airline water tanks, though airlines always insist it's within safety limits. Still, many crew members quietly avoid anything made with tap water. And here's something else ex-workers revealed. Flight attendants know which meals are the freshest, and they often serve those to passengers who are polite, patient, and friendly. On busy flights, they may hold back the better choices for passengers in premium cabins or those who treat them with respect. Being kind doesn't just make the flight smoother, it can literally change what ends up on your tray table. So what's the takeaway? Airline food tastes strange because your body changes at altitude, because airlines cut corners, and because water tanks aren't always as clean as you hope. If you want to eat well in the air, bring your own snacks. Choose strong flavored meals like curry or tomato pasta, and stick to bottled drinks. The catering truck may be out of your control, but how you prepare for it isn't. Secret 3. Crew rest rules are stricter than you think. Crew rest sounds simple. Flight attendants and pilots need enough time off between flights to recover. The FAA requires a minimum of 10 hours rest, with at least 8 hours sleep opportunity. But ex-crew explain how airlines push this to the limit. After subtracting time for commuting, getting through security, and eating, many flight attendants get far less rest than the law intends. One ex-attendant shared that she sometimes landed from a red-eye, napped on an airport lounge chair, and was back in uniform 8 hours later. New hires often get the worst routes, multiple red-eyes back-to-back, while senior staff with more control over their schedules pick the comfortable daytime flights. One former flight attendant confessed she once cried in the galley from exhaustion after a week of brutal schedules. And that matters to passengers. Exhausted crew aren't just tired, they're less patient, slower to respond, and more likely to enforce rules harshly because they're running on fumes. That's why travelers sometimes experience grumpy flight attendants on red-eye routes. It's not personal, it's fatigue baked into the system. Quick question before we keep going, what's the worst meal or service experience you've ever had on a flight? Drop it in the comments. I bet we'll see some airlines get called out fast. Seat upgrades aren't always about money. Passengers often assume upgrades are all about money. And yes, sometimes you can pay to move up a cabin. But ex-airline agents admit there's more to the story. Upgrades are sometimes strategic. Airlines use them to balance weight, to fill empty business class seats that would otherwise look bad, or to accommodate loyalty members. And sometimes they're given just because the crew likes you. One ex-agent said she upgraded a honeymoon couple to business class simply because they asked nicely and the seats were empty. Another worker admitted that polite passengers who treated staff with respect often got little perks, like extra drinks, better seats, or priority rebooking during delays. It's a subtle reward system. The truth is, agents have more discretion than passengers realize. But here's another side of the story. Airlines also track who is most valuable to them based on long-term profitability. Ex-workers explained that algorithms sometimes nudge agents to prioritize passengers with frequent flyer status, airline-branded credit cards, or a history of purchasing extras. That's why someone who paid less for their seat might still get the upgrade if they've been loyal for years. For passengers, the key takeaway is this: politeness, appearance, and loyalty all matter. Aggressive behavior almost always backfires. Gate agents and cabin crew talk to each other, and a note in your record can follow you across flights. If you want to increase your chances of an upgrade, arrive early, dress neatly, and treat every employee you meet with courtesy. You may not always get the seat in business class, but you'll definitely improve your odds of receiving a little extra care. Secret 5. Cleaning shortcuts between flights. Planes land, passengers deboard, new ones board, and somehow everything looks ready again in minutes. But ex-cleaning crew revealed that not everything gets cleaned between flights. Tray tables, armrests, and seatbacks aren't disinfected every turnaround. Sometimes trash gets shoved into pockets or under seats just to make the cabin look tidy. During the pandemic, airlines doubled down on sanitation, but by 2023 and 2024, many quietly scaled back to save time and money. One worker admitted they used to joke, "Your tray table has seen more germs than the bathroom door." The reality is that deep cleaning usually happens overnight or during long layovers, not between quick turnarounds. A former cleaning contractor explained that crews often have less than 10 minutes to sweep an entire narrow-body jet. That's enough time to remove visible trash and maybe wipe the obvious spots, but not enough for thorough disinfection. On wide-body jets flying internationally, the cleaning is slightly better, but even then, crews are under enormous pressure to keep turnaround times short. Airlines lose money every minute a plane sits on the ground. This doesn't mean your next flight is unsafe. Aircraft are inspected regularly and disinfected more thoroughly at scheduled intervals. But it does mean that the surfaces you touch most, like tray tables and seatback pockets, aren't always cleaned as well as you'd like to believe. That's why ex-flight attendants and cleaners almost universally recommend carrying sanitizing wipes. Wiping down your space doesn't just protect you from germs. It gives you peace of mind in an environment where speed matters more than cleanliness. Secret 6. The hidden world of crew bidding. Ex-airline workers reveal that flight attendants don't just get assigned schedules randomly, they bid for them. Senior crew get first choice, leaving the leftovers to the newest hires. That means the most grueling routes, back-to-back redeyes, long-haul flights with short rest windows, and awkward connections, often go to the least experienced staff. One ex-worker admitted that as a new hire, she spent weeks stuck on exhausting overnight flights, while her senior colleagues enjoyed cushy daytime trips to vacation hotspots. Some new staff even confessed to crying from exhaustion after working multiple international legs in a row. This hidden hierarchy explains why service quality can vary dramatically from one flight to the next. For passengers, this matters. Tired and inexperienced crew aren't as quick, aren't as flexible, and sometimes aren't as polished. When you notice a difference in service, it's often less about attitude and more about seniority. An ex-flight attendant once explained that newer staff are more likely to strictly enforce rules because they fear reprimands, while senior crew are more comfortable bending rules to keep passengers happy. And if you've ever wondered why the crew on a flight to Miami seemed cheerful, while the crew on a red-eye to Denver seemed worn out, now you know. Crew bidding isn't just about personal preference. It's about seniority and survival in a demanding job. Secret 7. Delays aren't always what they tell you. When your flight is delayed, the announcement often blames weather, and sometimes that's true. But ex-workers admit that airlines also use weather as a catch-all excuse to avoid responsibility. If the real reason is crew scheduling, maintenance issues, or even mismanagement, airlines can dodge paying compensation by labeling it weather. And passengers often sit in terminals believing storms are the cause, when in reality, the plane is missing a crew member who timed out under FAA rules. Flight tracker apps sometimes reveal the truth, showing that a plane hasn't even left its last airport, or that there are no storms in the area. The difference matters. If it's truly weather, airlines aren't obligated to provide hotels or meal vouchers. If it's an internal problem, they may be responsible. But unless you push for answers, you'll rarely know. That's why ex-airline staff often say, always double-check before accepting the first explanation. One ex-pilot admitted that he often sat at the gate waiting for a replacement part while the official announcement blamed thunderstorms hundreds of miles away. Passengers never knew the truth. Airlines believe it's easier to keep people calm with a vague weather excuse than to admit mechanical or staffing failures. And if you're finding these insider stories useful, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm dropping videos like this every week, so you'll always know the tricks airlines don't want you to see. Secret 8. Why crew sometimes ignore call buttons. Former flight attendants admit they don't always rush when passengers hit the call button. Sometimes it's because they're in the middle of meal service, strapped in during turbulence, or simply overwhelmed by too many passengers at once. Some even confess they prioritize based on tone and behavior. Polite passengers who wait patiently often get faster responses. Demanding passengers who slam the button repeatedly may find themselves waiting longer. It's not official policy, but in practice, it happens. One ex-worker admitted she once ignored a call light for 15 minutes during turbulence because she knew the passenger just wanted another soda. For her, safety came first, not customer satisfaction. Another flight attendant confessed she and her colleagues sometimes ranked passengers mentally. The calm and friendly ones got priority, while the rude and aggressive ones were quietly put at the bottom of the list. The takeaway is clear. Use the call button sparingly and politely. Flight attendants remember faces, and respect usually gets you better service in the long run. It's a human system inside a corporate machine, and kindness goes further than most passengers realize. Secret 9. The data airlines collect on you. Airlines don't just track your flights, they track your behavior. Ex-workers revealed that every time you check in, buy a drink, or upgrade a seat, it's logged in your customer profile. Airlines rank passengers not just by miles flown, but by profitability. That means two people with the same frequent flyer miles may not be treated the same. The one who buys upgrades, uses the airline credit card, and spends more on board is more valuable than the one who flies only on discounted tickets. This data decides who gets priority during delays, who gets bumped during overbooking, and sometimes even who gets a free upgrade. Airlines won't say this out loud, but ex-workers confirm it's part of the system. A passenger who looks loyal but doesn't spend much might not get the same perks as someone who spends aggressively, even if they've flown fewer miles. So the next time you wonder why someone else got perks you didn't, the answer may be buried in years of spending patterns you didn't realize were being tracked. Airlines see you not just as a traveler, but as a potential long-term investment. And if you're not valuable to their bottom line, you may find yourself treated differently. So there you have it. 9 secrets from ex-airline workers that explain what really goes on behind the curtain. From overbooked flights and strange-tasting meals to crew exhaustion, cleaning shortcuts, hidden hierarchies, and secret passenger data, these insider truths show that flying is never as simple as it seems. But now you know how it really works. You know how upgrades can happen. You know when delays are being disguised. You know that crew exhaustion shapes your service. And you know how much data you're actually giving away every time you fly. So let me ask you this, which secret shocked you the most? Was it the idea that your call button sometimes gets ignored, or the fact that airlines track you like a frequent shopper at a store? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading through every one. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you want more insider travel secrets, because I've got even bigger ones coming in the next video. Until then, travel smart, travel informed, and never stop asking what's really going on behind the scenes.